Hi friends, welcome to Crack Grade B. We are back with yet another important lecture of how to write a descriptive answer. Since you have seen that the NABARD Grade A and Grade B notification is out, along with the official notification, you have gotten another surprise that the Phase 2 have been, uh, which have been a MCQ based paper, is now a descriptive paper, right? For the ARD, ESI, and your Google development. Okay, so here we need to understand how to write a perfect descriptive answer, right? So let's begin. So first thing, let us understand the pattern. Okay, so the pattern says that I have taken economic and social issue, right? I'm explaining in this. I have taken all. So there would be six question which candidate will be required to attempt four. So out of six, you need to attempt only four questions. Okay. Next, uh, between these four, two will be of 15 markers and two questions would be of 10 markers, right? This is how the mark distribution. So this is 20, this is 30. So 30 plus 20 is 50. So in 90 minutes, you are going to write this four questions. Now, let's move ahead and let's understand the word limit. So for 15 marker, the general notion is 600 words is good. And for 10 markers, 400 words are perfect, right? But as a student, you will always be into the dilemma of what? That you know more. You may get some question where you don't know nothing, and you will have some question where you will be excited because you know much about it, right? So the concern is word limit. You want to express, but you cannot, right? But the concern is word limit. Okay. So the basic understanding is to balance between both. So how will you balance? You will balance as such. So a good content, right? Along with for 15 marks, 400 plus word limit is absolutely fine. But given that you have written something meaningful, and for 10 markers, 250 plus words are fine. So don't write unnecessary things, right? Here we are, we don't know how the checker is going to get into each paper, right? So the content is important. Focus on the content, not on the number of words. So if you know many things about that particular topic, then yes, obviously you can go ahead and write 600 words. No harm in it. But when you don't know much content, different contents, do not repeat the same thing. In that aspect, you should limit your words to somewhere around 450 and then 250 for the 10 marks. Given that you have a good content with no repetitions, okay, so this makes a answer nearly perfect answer. Okay, we are going to see in this lecture by writing some answers. So let's move ahead and let us understand the syllabus of what ESI has to say. Right. So if you look at ESI, I would say the syllabus is very small when it's come to descriptive. Now see how I say that economic and social issue, right? So when you see this particular thing, and when you are preparing for economic and social issue, so what you need to know, you need to know growth and development. That is where the economics start. Then we are coming to social issues. So I will mention it in the sub points because something or the other thing is related to growth and development, right? How? It would be inflation, then social issues like poverty, unemployment, right? Demography. So if you look, all these topics are some or the other way related to growth and development. Okay. That is how I say that the entire syllabus that looks very vast is not actually vast. So if you read about growth and development in depth, you will actually read about inflation, poverty, unemployment, demography. So can you just see? I can make few questions from this. Like, can you sustain the development? Sorry, can you sustain the growth carrying poverty? Absolutely not. Right. So, if there is a high rate of unemployment in the economy, can the development sustain for the long time? No. So, you need to find a connection between all these topics, right? See, when you read about inflation, inflation is a simple topic, okay? It seems big, general rise in price. Now, what you need to know about inflation? Basics like definition, impact, etc. Okay. Then what you need to know about inflation, you need to know about basket, right? Then everything comes under current affairs. What is the current trend, right? And how it is affecting the economy. That's it. When you read the current affair, it will have. So if you are going through the current affairs given by the crack grade B, so we are releasing the current affairs every day from the PIB, from the all the financials and the newspaper like the Hindu and the Indian Express. So if you go through that current affairs, you will find that you are actually so when you see a current affairs like in the recent past you have seen RBI governor speaking about the uh, inflation, right? So the current inflation is 6% and above, right? It has crossed the upper limit of the RBI's 4 to 6% mandate, right? It has crossed. So yes, you can have some content there. How RBI is tackling that, okay, and what is the impact in the economy? Which portion of the basket is contributing to the high inflation rate in the economy? So when you read these things in the current affairs daily, eventually you develop a content to write. Right? So this is going to help you in the descriptive paper as well. So then let's move to employment generation in India. So there has been a many report that says the unemployment is in rise. You can read all those in the current affairs. Obviously, you will have to know the basics. So I hope when I speak on this topic, I assume that you already know the basic or the static part. Right? Like static means there are types of unemployment, okay, the impact, you know all these things. What I'm speaking about is current affairs, okay, measurement of poverty and see poverty elevation programs of the government. So you don't need to know the entire program of the poverty elevation, right, of the government. What is a recent hot topic in the government? Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Government is giving food free till Diwali, right? And how that is related to the COVID package, how that is coming out from the government, how is government managing the money, right? So when you read all this thing in the current affairs, you will have a good basket and you will have something to write on the paper as well, right? Then population trend. So I don't see nothing new in this because census 2011 by this time you should able to answer any question that is there in the census 2011 or related to census 2011. Okay, so let's not talk about this topic now. Let's move forward. Population policy in India. Okay, this is same, right? Then issue in food security in India. So this is a long topic, but when you write an answer, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, this is enough, right? Then how is National Food Security Act is helping out? So some see I have already told that I'm assuming that you already know the static part of it, right? So what is old? So I'm just speaking about what you need to know extra in this last few days, that is the current affairs and how you can relate that. I'll come to that part in the as we forward in this lecture. Okay, so if you see these topics like education, health, environment, okay, socio-economic problem is illiteracy. So all this is these are something that you can connect with growth and development. Okay. Now, let's move forward and let's see about R&D, rural development. Okay. So if you have seen our YouTube, so there is a lecture for this Panchayati Raj institution. Okay. And if you have gone through our current affair material, so recently Manrega was in news, NRLM Ajivika was in news. So we have a video on this as well. We have a video on this as well, where we have taken up the static part of it, right? Which you should know. So I must say that you should go ahead and have a look at that. They are not very long lectures. They are very short and very useful for your descriptive paper. Now, so drinking water programs. Okay, so drinking water program. So government is running an scheme, right? Ministry of Jal Shakti is running Jal Jeevan Mission. So by 2022, I guess they have a target to cover the entire India, right? So they are releasing fund to the entire all the states one by one. You can find all those current affairs in our material, right? Then what is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? So everything when you read it in current affairs, just go and read the basic part of it. Okay. Then concept of rural area. What do we mean by rural area? Okay. So when you see this video, you will get to know what is rural area. Then structure of rural economy. So when I say structure of rural economy means how do people, so just compare it. How do people live in the metro city? Most of them are into the job and some big business. But if you go to rural India, most of the people would be related to agriculture. Okay, somebody will be an entrepreneur who would be running a small dairy. Somebody will be having cattle. Somebody would be having a poultry farm. Okay, so this is how their livelihoods goes in the rural area. And how is that affecting the economy as a whole? You should know about it. Okay, social and demographic character of Indian rural economy, causes of rural backwardness. So why the rural India is still backward, right? So if there is a question like this, why is rural India still backward? You can mention that from till 1921, the population growth was slow for at least 200 years. So if I go 200 years past till to 1921, the population growth was slow. Only somewhere around 1.42 crore people has been added in the 30, sorry, not 200 years, around 30 years, 30 to 40 years. Okay, but if you see from 1921 till to date, the growth has been in rise in good numbers. Okay, so population is a concern, and on the other hand, government is running many programs. So even if how are these programs not helping the rural India to come out of that backwardness? Okay, you have to analyze different schemes of the government. So there is nothing to fear about the descriptive paper. Okay, you will have to connect things. That is how you can sail through the descriptive paper. Now, let's move ahead in the lecture. Let us see source from where we are going to have this source static content by the characteristic b, okay, or any other source that you are referring to, maybe books, okay, maybe Wikipedia or open internet. Okay, so anywhere you can go, you can read about the static part of it. When you say unemployment, okay, that's a very simple term, everyone will understand. But when I say what are the types of unemployment, right, or what is seasonal employment, then everyone cannot answer it, right? So that is how you should be differentiated by any other people from a student who is preparing for the NABARD or RBI Grade B. So let us talk about the NABARD examination, right? So unemployment, everyone knows. But when I say what is seasonal unemployment, right, you should know about it. So that is how you make yourself or you stand difference from the other guys. Okay. So static content is very important because you build up the link, right? Static contents means, so if you want to build a building, right? So we build a building, we see a building only this much, but what we do not see what is there in the ground, what is there in beneath the earth. So static content is something that would be beneath the earth, okay, that cannot be seen, but that is an important aspect of writing a good answer. So there is no denying the fact that static won't help. Static is the only thing that will sail you through. And current affairs material. So why current affairs material? See, so there are number of theories for poverty calculation and unemployment, right? So you cannot remember everything in one go. Okay, that I understand. That's almost near to impossible to uh, understand each and everything, or to no, you can understand to remember each and everything. That's not possible. So that is where the current affairs will sail you through. Okay. So when I say poverty, what is government doing about poverty? So in intro part, so I'll come to that. Let's not speak about it in this slide. I'll come to that. Now let's move forward. How to write the answer. Okay. So answer writing is very simple. It's introduction. Okay. Here you write about the meaning. If you know some definition, you can quote, but I guess most of us do not know the definition, right? But if you don't know the definition, you should write the meaning of it. Okay, so that things are clear by reading just that 4 5 lines that you have written something meaningful in the next part, that is body. Okay, so body is where you write the main content. What is asked in the question? What is asked in the question? Then conclusion. So conclusion can be two types. First types, in if in the question they're asking about your thinking, right? Then you should have that analytical skill where you analyze of what you have written in the introduction, what you have written in the body, and then conclude it accordingly. So again, things to remember here, I'm marking it. Things to remember here is, do not write anything in the conclusion which you have not mentioned in the body and in the introduction. Some of the other part you will have to write about it. Only then you can conclude, right? When it comes to if they're asking about your thinking. But if they are asking about what has happened that we are going to see in next few slides, you can just simply mention that yes, government has does this. Don't write about the impacts if they are not asking. Okay, that will unnecessarily increase the line and make your answer. So economic impact has many other parameters, right? So if you are writing looking at only one parameter, the person who is checking your answer is an expert, right? He will know the other aspect as well. And if this doesn't hold the importance in terms of what the other one has, then you are bound to lose some marks. So conclusion should be in synchronization with your introduction or body. Okay. Now let's move forward and let us see some phase two questions that are asked in the RBI grade B. Okay. So the first question that was asked was how the different dimension of globalization evolved since last global financial crisis of 2008. Analyze the impact. So you had been preparing for ESI for long. That is what I assume. So you know the statics of globalization, right? And how that is important. Then, so this globalization, you can mention what is globalization and okay, so here you know about the static part of it, right? You can mention the static in intro, Then they're asking in the context of global financial crisis of 2008. This you mention it in the body. And in the intro part, do not forget to mention about the global financial crisis of 2008 in one line or two line. That's it. Okay, because you have word limitation. Now, so that is how you build up the answer. So here in this question, if you see, they are asking me analyze the impact. So they are not asking about what you think. Okay, so this is something that has happened in the past. So you already know what was the impact. The economy fall. First, it began in US, then slowly uh, it arrived in Europe. Then how it arrived in Europe? Because people were trading, people in the US and people traders in the European Union were very good and very big traders. So many of them defaulted in their payment. Eventually, the collapse of the economy that has happened in the US is impacted in the European Union as well. And that is how it spread in the entire world. Okay. But the major impact it had in the US and the European Union. Okay. So you need to analyze that impact. You can say that big banks failed that time. Okay. And role of some big regulators, how did they manage to overcome that crisis? You can mention that. Okay, so this is already a past paper. I am assuming that this is something that will come. That is how I'm discussing. Okay, describe various poverty estimation method in relation to. See, poverty estimation method, I was talking about poverty there. So if the, see, whosoever is making question also knows what can be remembered and what cannot be. Now, what the question says, describe various poverty estimation method in relation to per capita income, inflation and consumption, safety net program. So, safety net program is something that is current affairs. What is government doing? Okay, what is government doing? National Food Security Act, Garib Kalyan Yojana. Okay, different subsidy that they are getting. So everything is that safety net program. Okay, then Pradhan Mantri, some housing scheme is also there. Okay, that is also safety net program. Then inflation and consumption, per capita income. So here we are not asking about, go ahead and write what is poverty, what are the different poverty estimation methods. So they are asking in context of this subtopics. Okay, and out of this one is completely current affairs based. So you need to link between the static part and current affairs part. You need to build that link. Then what are the horizontal and vertical allocation of resource to state as per the 15th Finance Commission report, how this objective can be achieved? So this is something, this is the question that I'm going to discuss in next slide. Okay, so let's not talk about it here. Then, what are the three measures related to disinvestment of strategic sector and non-strategic sector in Union Budget 2020 Union? Discuss rationale and impact. So I hope you have already gone through the Union Budget, you know, right? So this investment process, LIC IPO will come. So some banks would get merged with different banks. Okay, monetization of land, idle land. So that is what it was told in the union budget. You can discuss all of them. You can discuss the rationale. How? So this is a question where they are asking about your inputs, right, and the impact, because this has not happened still. So if you see Air India, let's take an example of Air India. The government is into the disinvestment process from the very long time. But is it done till today? No. Right. So when you write about Air India in this, whatever rationale and whatever impact you mention, this has to be in synchronized, right? That why Air India needs to be uh, disinvested, because it is making losses, as simple. So if you know the data you can quote, but if you don't know and you're not sure about data, you should never quote the data, right? Because you never know, the person who is checking may have access to internet, may have access to different resources, can cross check your data, and if you have found that you're writing some wrong data, it's going to harm your marks. But yes, if you use the approximation, let's say we have a you the exact data is 1.42, so you write it 1.5 approximately. So that is fine. because you have written this word approximately and this is so close. So yes, we can use the approximation. That is how you can sail through. Then they are asking about the impact, right? So what is the impact of if Air India gets disinvested? You can write simple things like you have seen in the COVID times that government has run this scheme where people who were stranded, I mean Indian who were stranded in different parts of the world came to India through Air India planes, right? So now the government is the owner of the Air India. So government can do that. What if government do not have the aviation? I mean, do not have any company like Air India. Okay, how will the government bring? So will it? Can it send Air Force every time? Absolutely, it also sends Air Force, but can it send every time? Absolutely no. So that is how you build a link. Okay, and if you have to write that in impact, let's say it's disinvested or air in which you strongly believe that Air India should get disinvested, then you can mention, then all these schemes can be run through the Air Force, okay, and the private players and etc. So you need to connect the rationale and impact. So if you are writing in the body that disinvesting Air India is not good. Okay, that government of India should have some aviation sector. So there can be, for example, like if government wants to send some secret documents to United States, let us suppose this, right? Can it send an Indigo airplane? Yes, it can send, but sending it in the company that is being owned by the government is more secure than sending it in a company that is private in nature, right? So you can mention this as a reason that why it should not be done. Okay, and when you write conclusion, you will have to be in synchronization what you have written in the body part. So that is how you build up and connect, right? Now let's move forward in the lecture and let's see how do we write a good answer. So this was the question. What are the horizontal and vertical allocation of resources to states as per the 15th Finance Commission report? How this objective can be achieved? Okay. So, yes, in the intro part, we can write as the Finance Commission is a constitutional body formed by the President of India under Article 280 to give suggestion on center-state financial relationship. The chairman of the 15th Finance Commission is Mr. N.K. Singh. The first report consisting of recommendation for financial year 2021 was tabled in Parliament. So if you don't remember this date, no problem. You can just mention. So see, this line you can mention there were two reports that were tabled in Parliament at different times. One for 2020 21 and one for 2021 to 26. And you can also mention if you know this, then also you know why this has happened. This has happened because in this for 1 year, Jammu Kashmir was a state. Okay. And for this, Jammu Kashmir became union territory. This was state. Okay. That is why they had to submit to report as per the recommendation of or as per the terms of the reference. Okay. So if you don't remember the exact dates, you can write the assessment of it, right? Why it was done. Then let us move ahead and let us see the body. You can mention this thing. Now, what was the question? See, let us go back. What are horizontal and vertical evolution, right? So the question is, what is horizontal and vertical allocation of resource? So straight away in the body, do not discuss any other thing. Come to the point. The allocation from the central pool is done by horizontal devolution and vertical devolution. Okay. Now, vertical devolution means between the union and the states. So this is important. Then, horizontal devolution means among the state. Let us understand each one of them one by one. So first, mention about vertical devolution. For the first report, 2020, it was kept at 1%. Sorry, it's 41%. Okay. And vertical devolution for the second report 2021 was kept at 42%. And the 1% difference is because of the new UT Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh. That's it. Because the expenses for the UT is being borne by the Union government, that is the reason they had been given 1% extra. Now comes to horizontal division. Now horizontal division is for both the report is done uh, using following parameters, right? So for income distance is 45%, for area 15, population 2011 15, demographic performance is 12.5, forest and ecology 7.5, tax and fiscal effort 2.5. Now the question, do I need to remember this percentage? Yes. There are two reasons to it. Okay. What if in the phase one, they ask you, because this is new, right? All this thing has happened in the month of January and February. So this is current affairs for you. In the phase one, you can get what is the percentage kept in the income distance. The answer would be 45%. You will have to know, right? Then you can get a question that what is the new thing that has been added. Okay, you can get, so tax and fiscal efforts is the completely new thing that has been added. Demographic performance, yes, it is the new thing that has been added, but there is a crux in it. So we'll understand that now. Now, when we are talking about that, let's talk about what's the difference. So, from the 14th Finance Commission, the 15th Finance Commission is different because 14th has used both 1971 population and 2011 population. Okay, but into 15th Finance Commission, it's only 2011. Now, demographic performance is something that is being used in the 15th Finance Commission for the first time. Okay, but yeah, it's almost same. I'll explain you in the next slide. Forest and ecology is also used in the 15th Finance Commission for the first time. Again, this is almost similar to what it was there in the 14th Finance Commission. Then tax and fiscal effort is completely new. Right? So I will not explain much here because already there is a lecture that is coming in the YouTube about the 15th Finance Commission in Craig Rugby channel. So you should watch it to understand each one of them, right? But for the sake of conclusion, I'm going to explain. Right? In the 14th Finance Commission, the income distance from 50 is reduced to 45%. So the amount has been reduced now. Many southern states and states like Maharashtra, Karnataka had a problem. So they went to the Finance Commission, I mean Mr. N.K. Singh, okay, and they told about their problem. But the commission has said them it is okay. They told about problem of what, of the population, that they have more people into the more income group. Like if you see Maharashtra, the contribution of Maharashtra and the people of Maharashtra into the economy is more than what state like Nagaland, Chhattisgarh, Bihar is contributing. Okay, because more developed cities are there, and so I would say you can watch that lecture to understand it better. I'm just going to explain simple thing. So see, in population in 1971, weightage was 17.5%, and for 2011 it was 10%. Okay, so the total is 27.5%. But in the 15th Finance Commission, what they have done, they have increased the population for 2011 by 5 percentage point to 15 from 10, and they have added a demographic performance. So uh, those states who have controlled their population from 71 to 2011 are being incentivized here. Okay, if you see the total, it comes out to it, so 27.5. So basically there is no difference, but yes, the amount is going to change because the calculation has changed. Okay, so how to calculate this? So I have explained it in that lecture, income distance. Okay, area is themes, I'm not going to discuss. So forest cover is removed and forest and ecology has been added. Okay, forest and ecology has been added. What is this? This is total dense forest cover in the state upon total forest. This is the formula, and this is how they calculate and they give the percentage. Tax and fiscal effort. So those states who are from where people are contributing more into the taxes, okay, means there are more compliance, as simple as that. So those states who are maintaining a good compliance record is getting incentive as 2.5%. Those who are not doing are not getting this amount, right? So this was all about the what kind of devolution. Okay, this was about the horizontal devolution that we have written here. Okay, now let's move ahead in the lecture and write the conclusion. So in the conclusion, I have not written. So I have mentioned many things. Since you have the word limit, so if I write something, I have to miss the other thing. So you can choose any two, or you can write one or the two lines for each of them based on the word limit. Now, the first thing, Southern state concerned due to reduction in weightage for income distance and how finance commission used demographic performance to incentivize them. Okay. Income distance, the amount was reduced from 50 to 45, means the state who have been able to control the population and also the states who have been who has people who contribute more into the taxes are getting less amount because they are good in the income. So what is income distance? Let us understand, else it will be difficult for you to understand here. So see, income distance means, let's say Maharashtra. Okay, let us take a state, Nagaland. Okay, so what is the per capita income? GSDP, and the same for this. Okay, so and the states will be ranked based on that, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, and that is how it will go to last rank. So distance means from here and here, the distance will be calculated and this state will get more amount of money than this. Then let's say this amount. So again, distance from here would be calculated and accordingly the money will be distributed. Okay. So state like Maharashtra, Karnataka, who are at the top of this income distance income, okay, are getting less amount. So obviously they are going to have problem. So they were given a incentive using the demographic performance. Okay. So if they are performing well, they are going to get amount from there. Okay. Now let's move forward. Those states who control the population had concerned reference to 2011 census data. Okay. So those who could control the population from 1971 to 2011, again they were incentivized where demographic performance. Okay. So first it was only forest cover. Now it is the forest and ecology. So let us understand about the demographic performance. See, demographic performance, how they calculate? They calculate using TFR. Okay, total fertility rate. Total fertility rate means a woman in her lifetime, a fertile woman in her lifetime gives birth to how many babies? Okay, so that is TFR, total fertility rate. So what they are doing 1 by TFR. They are making reciprocal of it, and whosoever has good numbers are given the more amount of money. Right now, forest cover, forest. Why forest is removed? So forest is just about the forest, but here it's forest in ecology means what is the dense forest? What is the percentage of dense forest when it is compared to the nation that particular state has, and that is how they are given the money. Then about tax and fiscal effort, that this is a new thing that has been added. So those states who are able to manage or who are able to uh, get people into the compliance and tax bracket are getting incentive using this method, right? So that is how you conclude. So what I will request you to write a conclusion of 3 to 4 lines and comment in the comment section, and whosoever has uh, the best comment I will pick, and when I upload the next video where I'm going to mention that particular name. Okay, so this is a challenge for you to mention a good conclusion for this. With this, I have come to the end of this lecture. Let's not talk about what are courses that we have in the crackgradeby.com. Let's talk about the course that is very important now, that is NABARD Grade A. Grade A is only available for 2499, Grade B for 3499. So don't lose out this opportunity to get India's one of the most economical and best course. If you have gone or going through our YouTube channel, you really know about the coverage that we had in the RBI examination. Like the question that were related to our material, right? So that is how we create our material. We have not left any part of the syllabus. Everything is covered in a very good and scientific manner so that one or the other way, if a question is asked, you can find that in our material. So by this, I have come to end of this lecture. Thank you and happy learning. Let's meet in the next lecture.